Thanks for tuning in to another episode of PSL on the Mic, the City of Port St. Lucie's official podcast. Hi, Mayor.
Hi, Maureen.
We're here for our every few month meeting at the podcast studio.
Yep.
And we just had the city's winter workshop last week for 2.5 days or so. And we just wanted to bring you in to kind of recap, talk about a little bit of what went on.
Sure.
All right. I want to talk about the economic outlook from, what's his name, Brad Hunter. I think he comes every year and just explains, has a PowerPoint presentation about the economy here and how we're doing. How are we doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
We're doing very well as a city. However, we have seen a slowdown in the economy here in Port St. Lucie in terms of the number of building permits that were issued from last year to the year prior, the number of certificates of occupancy. So we have seen a little bit of a slowing in the markets.
Why is that? Is there a reason?
Well, the economy, interest rates, and all of the things that have been going on at the national level that have affected us.
Right.
Obviously, inflation is still high. Prices of things are still high.
My eggs.
Yes. Don't get me started on the eggs. And, but kind of to be expected.
Yeah.
And not a seller's market anymore from real estate-wise. More like a buyer's market. We're seeing that on the real estate side. So, but again, nothing that we didn't expect.
Okay. Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah. Some of our impact fees as a result of the permits being less are trending down a little bit. So that's something that we also have to pay attention to because impact fees, for those that don't know, are what is collected for the new growth that happens. However, it doesn't pay for itself, but it does help us in terms of adding additional services and being able to meet the demand of a city that's growing. So to see them slow down a little bit is just that economic indicator that, you know, we're not going to be taking in as much as we used to in terms of impact fees.
Which is kind of the same everywhere in this country.
Sure.
Right now. Is it a little bit, I mean, I don't want to say positive, but there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of development going on.
Yes.
Is it okay that things are slowing down a bit in a way?
Sure. In terms of a little bit of a breather. I shouldn't say a nice breather because it's just a little bit of a breather because there is still growth happening. We're still as busy as ever here in the city. However, it is nice to see just a little bit of a slowdown because it does help us take a little bit of a breath. And
to prepare for the next one.
To prepare for, what comes next because real estate is cyclical. So we will see, an uptick again, I'm sure, at some point, given the fact that we still have so many residential entitled units that still have not been built yet.
Right. Okay. So I want to bring up a couple of our departments because most of them, if not all, presented their high-impact plans and things that they're going to be doing in the next fiscal year. So I'm just going to throw out a department and then maybe give me your top takeaways from that department. So let's talk with one of the most important ones, Public Works.
Absolutely.
Roads, infrastructure, sidewalks, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so we had a great presentation from Public Works on all of the projects that we are working on. And for anyone who's interested in seeing what that presentation looks like, they can email over to me at mayor@cityofpsl.com. I'll be happy to share the presentation with you.
Great.
It shows all the projects that we are working on in all the different phases. I know there's a lot of perception out there that we are not planning, but we are planning every day. Our strategic plan is in full motion.
Yep.
And we have projects in design, conceptual design, construction phase, and there are so many more that we're planning for. And Public Works really gave us a good breakdown of what that looks like, not only from a road standpoint, but also from a stormwater standpoint as well.
It's important.
Because our stormwater system is much more than just our swale system, with all the control structures and all the canals that have to be addressed. So there's a lot more to our stormwater system that we have to pay attention to and make improvements to.
Any, while we're in this department, any road projects do you want to share an update about concerning Public Works?
Absolutely. So Phase 2 of Floresta is winding down.
Yeah.
The groundbreaking for Phase 3 was a couple weeks ago now.
Yes.
Yep.
Not last week, but The 19th.
Yes.
I think it was the 19th. Yep.
Yep. So, and then there are several other projects in design. You have the pre-design for California going on right now. There's a design for Savona-Gatlin intersection.
Yep.
There is a design phase beginning for Village and Tradition intersection.
Okay. I'm thinking Village Green.
Parkway.
Village Parkway,
and
right.
Tradition Parkway. I should be a little more clear. Intersection. Turn lanes in various areas. You have roundabouts going in up in the Torino area. Design for roundabouts at Savona and Parr and Darwin and Parr. So there's big projects, little projects, many of them happening, and it's important to note that we just don't plan for a few years. We have plans in the hopper all the way out to the year 2050.
And we're updating our comprehensive plan too, and that
Yes.
that's 2045, right? Is that what that's called? Charting 2045, I think.
Yes.
And we just had a podcast on that a couple weeks ago. So yes, we are planning. I want to ask you one more question though. I see a lot of stuff on social media. Why doesn't the city end one project and start another? Why is that not possible?
If we did that, we would never get anything done.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it's important to note that in order to get all our projects done, we have to leverage all of our resources. And as you know, and as some know, that not all of our funding just comes from taxpayer dollars here
Right.
locally. It comes from the state as well. And to get into the state plan, it is a very long process. And there are different levels of that process depending on whether it's determination of need, design, right-of-way acquisition, construction, and all of those segments of a project are in a funding cycle because we only get a certain pot of money from the state every year. And we have to make sure that that goes to all the different projects that are in the plan, and also where it's slated in terms of what process, whether it be in design or whether it be in the construction phase. So all these projects through the state are also planned out many, many years. And the funding happens when the funding happens.
Right.
And so we have to be ready for that and plan for that as well. I know seems like a lot, especially with all of our growth and the traffic, but we have to get them done and to try to get ahead of things. And unfortunately, sometimes they overlap.
Right. And just think about it. Port St. Lucie Boulevard South.
Yes.
It's taking a while. What if we waited until that was over? You're right. Nothing. All these other projects that have gotten done or are in the process of starting wouldn't be able to if we did stop and wait till Port St. Lucie Boulevard was finished. There's no way.
Right. That's absolutely right. And especially it's even more difficult, although it's like a catch-22, because although we need the funding from the state and we want their help, we don't necessarily have the control over the contractor, and we don't have control over the project when that happens. So whereas you see a road like Floresta getting done on time, right, and on budget, that's not really what's happening with PSL South.
Right.
But we can only beg DOT and ask them questions and express our frustration, which we've done many times.
Yeah.
And work with them because we need them to continue to work with them to get projects done. So we have to advocate, and that's what we're doing for there.
Yep. What about Parks and Recreation? There's a lot of changes going on there, especially with special events.
Absolutely. So we're going to be changing up our special events. We have Nan on board, and she changed up our Irish Festival a little bit. So it'll be exciting to see the differences there. Make it more like those Highland games and real
Celtic, more like Scottish, Irish.
Yeah, very cultural. And so that'll be fun. And then all of the parks and parks projects that we have coming online, from Stars and Stripes to getting the restaurant constructed at the port, to Wilderness Trail, to OL Peacock, to Tradition Regional and Torino Regional. I just drove out to Tradition yesterday, and the baseball fields / softball fields are getting done right now.
Awesome.
The BMX will be ready for the groundbreaking very soon.
I'm going to jump in.
Yep.
Tell people what's going at Tradition and what's going in Torino, because we're getting a lot of mixed signals that I've seen, at least on social media.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Tradition is our adaptive all-wheel BMX park, first of its kind in the world. And then we are going to have multi-purpose soccer fields and baseball and softball fields at Tradition Regional to start.
Okay.
That's all in phase 1. Then later on, we'll get to phase 2, where we'll add other amenities to that park. And I'm sure we'll go back out to the public and talk to our stakeholders, talk to our residents, and see what else they want. Because it's been a long time since that original plan has come forward. Now, Torino is really exciting because we're going to have nature trails there. We are going to have a giant pavilion. It's going to have basketball courts underneath. We're going to have a splash park. We're going to have pickleball courts. So there's going to be a lot of different amenities there. So there's wetlands there that we have to make sure that we don't mess with. They're protected, and so we're building around those wetlands. But the coolest thing about Torino is we're going to try to keep that as tree canopied as much as possible. Natural as possible. And also, the other important element, of course, is our skate park.
Yes.
And
that's what I was waiting for you to say.
Yeah. And that is going to be more towards all wheels as well. But that's the one that will be more for the true skate park, skateboarding element. It'll have the bowls, and it'll have all the other amenities that normal skate parks have.
Unlike the Skate City, where it's primarily just like rollerblades and roller skates, which happened again. The grand opening was, I believe, in January. So that's been happening for a while. There's tons of people out there too.
There is. It's a lot of fun. We have Love Your Block out there for Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Great to see all the skaters out there. And it's just so cool that it was so organic.
Yep.
And you have little toddlers up to seniors skating, and everyone's doing it together, listening to music. So that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're on communications, let's talk about Love Your Block and Sarah Prohaska, my supervisor's presentation about our push for engagement.
Yeah.
Too.
So that our kickoff, well, we had a few kickoffs, but our Community Day kickoff is going to be this weekend, actually, coming up, March 8th. And we're going to have the residents come out in the Whispering Pines area. We're going to be doing mini grants, having lots of conversation, and working together with the community to figure out what they need for their neighborhood to make it better and to make it more vibrant, and what they want to see. As it moves forward.
That's what the mini grants will be for too, is to help them decide like what in their neighborhood needs refurbished, or what can we add to their neighborhood, and everybody can apply for those.
Yes.
Yep. And what about youth council? I know that's close to your heart.
Yes, I love the youth council. They've been out helping with Love Your Block and all the programs.
They're like at all of our events now. We actually have to like kind of do a lottery because all of them want to volunteer. It's great.
It is.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like 11 last year? This year, almost 50, right?
Yeah, like 47 or something, yeah.
And they all want to be a part of the city and making sure that they're contributing. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Police, big changes are happening over at the police department, namely the training facility that's already under construction.
Yes, so that's well on its way. That will be done in the first quarter of 2026, if not sooner, but that's the projected date. Of course, we want it sooner.
It's like right around the corner, literally.
So Chief Nimzik's been doing a great job. District 5 has been well underway. He's already planning for District 6.
Yep.
He's adding another region, so he's going to be splitting up the 2 regions into 3 regions with the cadets that are coming out of the police academy. That we had a police academy graduate in December. We have another one starting in March. Then another one will be starting in October. So the recruitment will be ongoing. And then as these, as the cadets come out of the academy and go into field training and become sworn officers, then we'll be able to build those other districts and those regions to be able to service our citizens better. So it's a great program that he's got on a roll.
Yeah.
And we're finally making great progress with recruitment.
I know, that's awesome. I don't want to get too much into this because we're going to have PD on in a couple weeks. But what do you think of their traffic push right now?
It's been wonderful.
Yeah.
It's what our residents have asked for. It's happening. They're really focusing on the major roadways and the major intersections where they know the most problems occur. Also important to point out that when we spoke at the workshop, we talked about how we're going to be going to more technology, looking toward a real-time operations center, looking at cameras in school zones, pilot program to start red light cameras at key intersections
Awesome.
in the city. So that'll be coming forward in the near future, probably within the next year. We already have the flock cameras out there, which are the license plate readers.
Yep.
So we are never going to be able to hire our way out of it. So we need to rely on our technology and get that good balance.
Yeah, and what's most important, I think, to, well, me, you, everyone, residents, is that we're listening. PD is listening to them. In fact, Brittany Holly, the new PIO, well, yeah, she's a new PIO with Master Sergeant Masidi. They're asking people in the comments, like, where do you want to see us next? And people are posting, and we're going there.
Absolutely.
So that's the important thing. We're listening to you guys.
Yeah, we're being responsive to our
Yep.
community. Brittany's doing a great job.
She's awesome.
Really enjoy her.
Yeah.
And so it's great. And I've started some mornings with Mayor Martin coffees. I'm bringing the chief out, bringing our PIO out as well, so residents can also ask direct questions of them.
Yep.
And especially if they're technical in nature. So it's been really fun.
Good. I'm glad. Let's see. Budget. Let's jump into the budget. Caroline presented. Any big changes?
No, just we're going to have to pay some close attention to our budget this year because some of our revenues are trending down.
Yeah.
So we always operate in a very efficient manner. Any positions that are asked for have to be justified through a process that our city manager goes through with his executive team and the different departments. So when it comes to our budget and it comes to looking at efficiencies, we're going to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible. And really the focus is going to be on public works, making sure
Yeah.
we have people to address infrastructure issues, police, of course.
Yep, always.
And Parks and Rec, we have more parks coming online, so we are going to need some staffing for Parks and Rec
right,
as
the
well.
actual staff who work at the parks.
That's right.
Yep.
So I call it my 3 Ps because those are the 3 key areas where we know that the growth is really affecting these departments the most. So we have to make sure that we're staffing appropriately and make sure that we're providing that high level of service at the best value we possibly can.
Good. Here's another P. Planning and zoning. You want to jump into maybe the mobility plan and the comp plan?
Yes.
Like I said, we had a podcast a few weeks ago with Mary. I always want to call her Mary Dunham Savage, but it's Mary Savage Dunham and Pat, who is our consultant with the comp plan too. So
so our comp plan is really important. We're required to update it to plan for what comes next from a planning and zoning standpoint and development standpoint for our city. One of the key things that we've been talking about a lot is what I like to call workforce or essential worker housing, because we know that housing needs are great, but we also know that a lot of the young professionals today can't afford to live on their own because of the high housing costs. And
even rent, and rent. So
rent is high.
Yeah.
So we don't regulate that as a city.
Nope.
But we also have not had the development community come in and want to put in workforce housing. Well, we're starting to see a shift in that. And so it's really important to make sure that we're putting policies and procedures in place to address that and to make sure that whoever wants to come in and do any type of workforce housing does it in the right location and also meets the needs of our community in terms of providing housing that our young professionals can afford. Or our young tradespeople can afford. So we'll be, like I said, we'll be paying close attention to that, and we will probably see some pilot programs come out, within the year, and see how we can address that, because it's something that we have not been able to tackle yet, because the city doesn't build homes.
No.
We partner with organizations.
Believe it or not, guys, the city doesn't build the homes.
Right.
That's
So-
another misnomer everybody thinks.
It
Stop
is.
building homes. Well, we don't build them.
We don't build them, but also people don't realize property rights.
Yeah.
We're a heavy property rights state, and if you own a piece of land, you can build on that piece of land, provided that you meet our laws.
Sure.
And when it comes to single-family homes, anyone can build a single-family home.
Even if you purchased that land in 1974.
That's right.
Yep.
And then any development rights that were given, they have those rights. So it's really, I think, going to be a game changer for us. It's just a matter of getting the right partnership in place and making sure that they can provide those apartments or homes that our young people can afford.
Yeah, they meet all the needs for that. Because we want people to stay here. We want them to live here, work here, but we want them to be able to not leave the city
Absolutely.
in both ways. What about the mobility plan?
Yeah, mobility plan, same thing. We're making changes to that. So for anyone who doesn't know, developers are required to pay into our mobility plan for the impacts that they create on our roads. We call that a mobility fee instead of an impact fee for roads. And the mobility fee gives us more flexibility by its name in order to address infrastructure needs. If it's an impact fee, we can only build capacity on roads.
Okay.
More lane miles.
Okay.
And widen them. With mobility fees, we could put in roundabouts, we could put in extra turn lanes, we could put in sidewalks, we can blow out intersections. So we have much more flexibility, and we're going to be making changes to that plan as well. We have a consultant on board who reviews our fees and reviews what our plan looks like, and then he looks at trends, and then takes a look, and he'll report back to us what things we may need to consider changing and provide recommendations in the next several months.
Okay, good. Last one, which is kind of my favorite, CRA. I know Jen Davis talked about Walton and One, but I also want to talk about Southern Grove because, that was a 20-year plan. It's filled in, what, six and a half years? So let's talk about Walton and One first.
Yeah, so we have a project in the hopper for Walton and One. It's going through the process right now through the Economic Development Council. It's under confidentiality at this time, but we're hoping very soon to be hearing something on that. So looking at mixed-use development, also looking at entertainment-type venue. So like I said, hopefully that'll be coming forward soon.
Be our downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, or downtown-like.
Downtown-like.
Lifestyle.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
Then on the flip side, on the CRA in Southern Grove, we also have something else in the works that I think a lot of people will be very, very happy about. We're very, very close and hoping to be able to announce that in the next month or so as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so intrigued. They'll probably enjoy it, whatever's coming.
I think people will be very happy.
Awesome. Haha,
getting
teaser.
close. Yes.
Are there any other major changes in any of the HIPs that you want to talk about from the departments? I think we covered most. Oh, what about the school district? The school district and the IRSC, they were both there too.
Yeah, they came.
Partners, our partners.
They're our partners. They were talking about what's going on. Andy Treadwell came from IRSC, talking about what's all the great things happening at IRSC, doubling the size of the nursing program, and all the partnerships that are happening through this school district, and making sure that the programs that are getting put in place, especially with regard to certifications, meet the needs of our workforce, like marine industries and boat building, things like that. And of course the trades. And then we had our schools, John Prince, Superintendent Prince, come in, and he gave us an update on our schools. Our graduation rates are very high. We're now the highest in the Treasure Coast, which is wonderful.
So great.
And all the gains that they've made over the last year with our school system. So all good things.
Good. I heard those graduation rates, and I was like, wow, that's awesome.
It really is.
Highest on the Treasure Coast now.
Yeah.
Take that. Do you foresee any challenges in the next year?
Yeah, I think our growth's going to continue to be a challenge, but we're going to have to manage it as best as we possibly can. I will tell you that when it comes to development that hasn't already been approved and doesn't have those entitlements attached to them, as far as residential, the council, if you look at our council meetings and you watch closely, you can see that we are taking a very hard look at whatever those projects look like. Doing a deep dive and making a determination. Of course, we have to follow our laws and our ordinances and our code, but doing a little bit deeper dive of, hey, from a planning perspective, does this project belong here? Does this application fit here? What do we want our city to look like, which we have more control over the next several years? And one of the things that has been very important and that we're continuing to work on is, where we can, land preservation. So what we talked about also at the workshop is that if we're going to be able to, or if we're going to continue to work on acquiring land and holding on to it for future park sites or future nature or sites or open space
Trails,
conservation,
anything, yeah.
trails. Now's the time to capitalize on that. And let's take a look around the city and what areas that we may want to look at purchasing property. Our citizens in our survey, our scientific-based survey, told us that they would like us to set aside money and put money towards land acquisition for parks, so we're not paving everything. And I fully support that.
Yes.
100%. And so we are embarking on that. And I think we're going to have the city manager take a look at different properties around the city, and then we can all go on like a field trip, a public meeting field trip, take a look and make determinations of where we want to save land or purchase land to save it for the future. The goal from a Parks and Rec standpoint is to get every citizen within 10 minutes of a park.
Right.
Some type of park or some type of public land.
Just a green space,
Green
even a
space.
pond, park bench, yeah.
Yeah, and we embarked on a new program called Naturally PSL for that, and try to find those high-performing public spaces. So that's very important. It's in our strategic plan, and we're going to continue to work towards that goal.
Good. What about opportunities? Let's go the positive way.
There's always lots of opportunities coming our way. We have the entertainment districts in Tradition area that we went into contract with a commercial developer on. We have obviously all the things happening at Walton and One will be great opportunities. I'm really eager to see the workforce housing or essential worker housing get
Yeah.
off.
So important.
Yep. And of course, all of our great parks that we have coming online. I think one in particular, although it will be a very passive park, if you've driven by it and seeing how it's coming out of the ground, Stars and Stripes Park is looking amazing with all of the art tributes to our first responders and our nation's veterans and the celestial stars. And I think it's going to be wonderful.
Remind everybody where that is going to be.
It's on Village Parkway, and right across the street will be a new fire station, Station 20. That's coming out of the ground right now.
Yep.
But that's going to be a really beautiful park, and that should be done in May. So we're getting very close.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another little grand opening. From on a personal level, what is the most exciting thing? Why do you love these workshops so much?
Because this is the time where we really, all 5 of us city council members, get to meet with staff and talk about all the things that are happening in our strategic plan. And it also provides that opportunity to show the public exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and how in-depth we go, how we get into debates, and how we, discuss projects and get to ask questions in a way where we all hear the same thing. We're all, bouncing ideas off each other. And that's wonderful. It's a lot harder when everyone else has their day-to-day jobs to do.
Yeah.
And you're trying to mesh everything together when you have 100 things going on in a day and getting pulled and called and emailed. And so it's just really our time to sit with each other and focus.
Yep.
And then it's also, for me, it's a great reminder of what we're doing. Because like I said, we're so busy every day. And when you're pulled in 100 different directions, when you look back and see the things that have been accomplished and then the things that are moving forward, it is that great reminder that we have so many positive, wonderful things happening in our community.
Yeah, and I don't want to say the word forced to sit there, but you are. For 2.5 days,
Yeah.
that's all that you guys do with the department heads and anybody else who wants to attend. So yeah, when they present all of this stuff to you, you take a step back and you're like, wow, look
Yeah.
at all the stuff we're doing.
And it's great for
Yeah.
our staff too, because they hear all the things, because they're in their niches. Everyone works together
Right.
to a degree,
Right.
But still they're in their niches doing their thing, and it's just good for everyone to be on the same page.
I know. I love it too.
Yeah.
And the summer one is coming up
July.
in July.
Yeah.
Okay. Any hot button issues you want to talk about? I mean, there's one in particular I can bring up that's
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to talk about it.
Chickens,
Yes, that's
backyard chickens.
That's the topic again.
du jour.
I completely understand that the price of everything is up. I go to the grocery store too. My husband loves eggs, like you have no idea. So I understand. However, there's another whole side to that
Yeah.
picture, especially when you're running a city of 254,000 people, and you're talking about paying close attention to a budget, and you're talking about, okay, what does it look like if we were to allow backyard chickens in quarter-acre lots, and what that will do with regard to our budget to have to add more code enforcement, add more animal control. And if I'm being really blunt and honest, I can't tell you the number of dogs and cats that are just abandoned or strays that get let out. People move, they leave their animals, and it's so horrible. And then what happens? Then we have to go as a city and address it, and then they have to go to the shelter or the Humane Society.
I just put a post up today. Brian Lloyd asked me, there's an overabundance of cats and dogs at the shelters, and we wanted to push the spay and neuter program with Operation SOS.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So knowing that and knowing what that looks like, and then looking at quarter-acre lots, allowing people to have chickens, the people that unfortunately may decide to move and leave them, may not take care of them properly. They're farm animals, really. You're going to have chicken mess to clean up. Then there's the issue of attracting rats,
Rodents,
raccoons,
snakes,
We
everything.
have bobcats, snakes. And, you know, there's a lot of people that would do the right thing. There's a lot of people that won't.
Right.
And so we have to always take that into account. And then, you know, we know several people here in the city that work here that live in the county and have chickens, and the cost to feed them every month. And when you apply that to the cost to feed them and take care of them versus the amount of eggs they produce and what that looks like from a return, you're talking about $1 an egg. And this isn't information that I've made up. This is information that's been shared with me by the people that actually own them and raise them and take care of them. And so from a cost perspective, it doesn't save any money. And this kind of ebbs and flows. Like we had the issue a few years ago with the cost going up high. It's happening again because of the bird flu. And that's another factor. What if that comes back around again?
Right. And we have birds in our backyard.
And to be honest, just this past weekend, I saw a post on social media on Savona, and people's chickens were running around. So people have them.
I saw it too. Yeah.
And, you know, it's
I've seen posts before of who lost their chicken on Port St. Lucie Boulevard.
Right.
So they are there.
They are there.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're not domestic pets. They're farm animals. And so I always have to look at the big picture and what's in the best interest of the majority.
Yep.
But I will tell you on a personal note that if it comes to it in the future and it gets brought up by the public at a public meeting, we'll put it on the 2026 ballot. Let the residents decide if that's what they want here in our community. We go out to our citizens through tons of public engagement, and that's what it's all about.
Let them decide.
So if the residents want to have chickens, then we'll let them decide in 2026.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't think people realize how much work chickens are until you just laid it out.
Yep.
No pun intended.
Right.
There. Any other hot button topics you want to talk about?
Just I know everyone's still stressed over and frustrated over PSL Boulevard South.
Yeah.
I am as well. At our February Transportation Planning Organization meeting, we brought it up to DOT again. Our board chair at the time said, well, why don't we have a special meeting and have them come back and discuss it again about, you know, what's taking so long, when is going to have it done. You know, the needle keeps moving on the timeline for all kinds of various reasons. But we know that it really has to get done because the next phase of the project is going to have to start later this year.
Right.
I don't think it'll be as bad because in terms of location, even though it'll be on the same road, where the traffic the construction issues are now, that's where the high traffic is because of all the shopping centers and the access onto Gatlin.
Gatlin and the Boulevard,
and
yep.
on the Boulevard further up. And then also what can we do too to talk to DOT about, well, can you do more night work, right? Can we make sure that we're doing everything we can to minimize the impact to our residents that live around in the region, along the corridor? What can we do better for the next phase of the project? It's always about continuous improvement and learning from the past. And especially since we're not going to be able to control those next two segments either. The contractor is going to be selected by DOT.
Yeah.
And the contract's going to be managed by DOT for those two projects. So it's about better partnership and continuing to express our concerns of our residents and ourselves. I mean, I live out that way, off Becker Road. I travel it every day, so I know the frustration that everybody has. And we're going to have a lot of projects going on for several years to come. And I know there's a lot of pain in that and frustration, but we just have to work together and get through it because we have to do these projects for the future of our city.
We do.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to stop.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having
me. I do
me.
want to remind people that tomorrow we are having the Neighborhood Day at Treasure Coast High School for Whispering Pines residents. And then the 15th is the new and improved PSL Irish Festival at Mid-Florida Event Center.
Yeah.
For all of our other events that are happening, it's cityofpsl.com/calendar. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. I'm also going to put links to the YouTube videos, if we have them, on our website from the Winter Workshop, if anybody wants to watch them. So, Mayor, hopefully we'll have you back a little bit quicker. Oh, no, you were here in December for your update from 2024. But we'll have you back soon to chat more about this awesome city.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
so
Mayor.
much.